Hey all, it's Jeff with Homework. Today I'm working on a project on radon gas. And radon gas is under your foundation slab. There's typically 6 or 8 inches of gravel in your concrete slab on your basement, for those of you with basements or slab homes. And radon comes from the breakdown of soils and stones in the soil, from uranium in the soil. Came from the glaciers from Canada typically. But it's a second leading cause of lung cancer, first for non-smokers. So I do testing. I'm licensed by a group called NRPP nationally to do radon tests, and I use these devices. And I'm going to test device versus device in my basement. And my house has been mitigated. You can't remediate, you can't remove, you can't solve the problem, but you can dampen the effect of it through mitigation. It's a vacuum fan. It goes from under the foundation slab, up through all, through the attic, and out the ceiling. Mine had that tube, the builder put it in, to make the home radon resistant, and that's a passive system. I added a fan to it in the attic. I'm going to show you that in a different video, that siphons it out from under the slab. So my result has gone very low. I'm still going to test device to device, and then I'm going to lower one device and show you how after 24 hours I'll lower one, how radon gas, which is heavy, can settle towards the ground. And we'll see that one device should have a higher reading because of that, slightly higher. Again, my fan is so effective, it takes most of the gas from under the foundation slab. One thing I did not do, which I'm going to do, is apply radon sealant around parts of my basement here. So when I get it cleaned out a bit more, I'm going to start to seal section by section, and that will suppress the ability of the gas to leak into the home. So I use it just, I'm going to level these here so they're the same height. I'll do that in just a moment. Fire it off for about 24 hours. I use a certain device by a firm called Air Things. This is the commercial device. These are about $1,200 a piece, and every year I have to send them to a nuclear lab and all that. I've got links to a consumer version of this down below, which is something I would recommend you guys get. Actually, I think they'll be more accurate over time, because on a real estate transaction, I only test for 48 hours. My device is tamper resistant, which means it has motion sensors, so you can't move it around without me knowing. The reason someone would do that is some other less sophisticated devices. The seller could take it out of the house, put it on the deck, put it back inside at hour 45, and the sensor, this charcoal canister for instance, would not have picked up radon gas in the house. Mine are tamper resistant, so you can't do that without me knowing. And the version that you could buy online, you wouldn't need to do that, because you're not going to try to trick yourself, of course. But so over time, though, with days and days of radon measurements, those will probably become more accurate as radon varies with moisture, time of year, those kinds of things. But this is what we use for real estate transactions. This is all that is allowed, and you have to be licensed. Each individual has to be licensed. It's not at the company level. So if I have employees and they're not licensed, then they can't place these tests. Then I use a tablet to turn them on. I read them. In this case, I'll read them in 24 hours and change that elevation. And I'll let you know how that goes. So hit like and subscribe, and make sure you check out the radon link below, the radon test link below. Thanks. Okay, so to look at the radon results for the first test, recall we did the first 2 test devices. These are active radon monitors. These are microprocessor, sample 4 times a minute, 4 times an hour for each box, and then it averages those and comes up with the averages. So I had them both at 28 inches. These are my 2 devices for my home inspection business that I use. And I calibrate these every year. It was last June, July that I did. So to do this coming June, July, I'm in April, early part of April of this year. So I wanted to see how accurate they were side by side. My home has been mitigated, which means I have a fan. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. My sump pit lid and my tube going out with has the large radon evacuation tube, has a little meter I'm going to show you, and it has a fan in the attic. I'm not going to show you mine. I've got another one from a home inspection a few days ago I'm going to show you. But when I had these at 30 inches on top, even, it's amazing. This one, again, my levels are very low. Yours might be 10 or 100 times higher, and you should test. I'm going to have some links below of a little consumer device you can buy affordably and test. But the first device tested had an average of 0.2. Recall the EPA action level is 4.0. Canada's 2.7. Different countries are different. Any amount is too much, but I'm 0.2 with a spike during the 24-hour test that I did of 0.7, almost 1. It spikes. It varies by time of day and outside weather, pressure, and all that. The other device that was right next to it, again, they were at the same level then. This was 0.3, amazingly accurate, with a spike to 0.8. So I was doing just a device-to-device test to calibrate them, and I test my basement levels periodically. This is the lowest I've seen it, actually. I've had 0.6 and 0.7s before. Again, time of year varies a lot. So then what I did, so I know my devices are both calibrated, even though they've been back from the nuclear lab for 9 months. Then what I did, because radon gas tends to be heavier and settles, I lowered the first device to 18 inches and raised the second device to 36 inches. I ran that test for 24 hours. I wanted to see what that looked like. Interesting results. Again, my levels are very low. This had an average of 0.1, so almost 0, but the spike was 0.8, 8 times the radon gas of the average during one of the hours of the 24 hours. It's amazing. This, again, twice the height as that one, had an average of 0.2, but the spike was only 0.3. So it's amazing. So between this height in my basement and down here, the radon hit 8 times the average here and only 1.5 times here. So that just validates further a real world case of how radon gas is heavier, and there just wasn't enough of it to rise to this sensor's level, to the 4 sensors underneath. So really interesting to me. Now, again, your levels might be, this is 10, it rises to 80, or this is 1, it rises to 8. Any amount is too high if you believe the science, and I do. So there's a variety of the consumer version of my commercial test devices. I've got a couple of links below. There's an older version from Amazon that's $140 or something. It's really good. Probably become more accurate than mine over time because you'll have weeks and weeks of data. And there's some newer devices down there too. There's a link for a firm called Air Things, and I have a promo code. I think you get 10% off, and I get a little coffee money or something too. But so check those out. And I'm just about, my light just turned off, but I'm just about to show you my Radon Tube and the Radon fan. Okay, thanks. Hey guys, so on the Radon Tube that I talked about, so it goes out of your sump pump or sump pit where your sump pump sits, and goes up through the wall, attic, all that. I'm going to show you where mine sits, but first I'm going to show you while I'm at this height. I'm going to show you this little meter that you can tell if there's a vacuum. Do you see how the blue level's higher on this side? It's because this hose has a mild vacuum. When I remove this here, watch the blue levels equalize out. See how they went to even? If I reapply the suction from the tube, see how it goes back up again. So that's how I know. There's a more modern version of this, an audible alert, and I'm going to upgrade to that, which would tell me if the fan ever stops, if trying to evacuate air or suck air out. Right now, I would have to check this indicator unless I put an alarm on my fan. But that's on the tube that goes right down into the sump lid or sump pit. I'm going to give you probably not a great view. This is my sump pump right here. I hope you can see that. This is the sump pump coming out, the small one. And the large one over here behind it is the radon evacuation tube. This is rigid. This should have a vinyl flexible PVC junction box. It does not. It should be more like this. This is a backflow valve that stops water. Water sitting here, but not sitting below it. But just wanted you guys to see that. So I'm going to show you an example of an attic fan as well. I'll attach that to this video. Thanks. Hey guys, Jeff with Homework. Hey, doing a home inspection today, and I've got a couple of radon gas testing videos where we test different machinery. And when the levels come back high, beyond a numeric threshold, it's 4.0 picocuries per liter in the US and 2.7 in Canada. It varies by country. you have to do what's called mitigate. You can't remediate, you can't fix it, you can mitigate, which is dampen the effect of it. And that's by using a vacuum fan in the attic. I think I've shown you a video with my own vacuum fan in my own house, but I just wanted to show you another one that has a larger supply line and just another installation, pretty interesting. When you mitigate radon, typically the remedy is affordable, $1,000, $1,200, some are $1,500, but it's a highly effective remedy. Takes the numbers down to, gosh, under 1.0 versus the EPA action level of 4.0. In my house, it went down to 0.6. You may recall from that test I ran. So anyway, just want to show you. So it's right over here. I'm going to move the camera, and you can see the fan right there. That's the supply line coming down from the top. They meander back and forth through the house, let the pipe heat up. It's a convection effect, hot air rises. So a chimney stack effect. They want the hot air to rise up. Of course, the fan is the vacuum that pulls it out. You can do this using just a chimney stack effect without a fan. And many builders are doing that. They're building a radon resistant house. And that's one of the solutions they're putting in place. The fan is called an active system and adds mechanical convection to it to pipe it out over the top bedroom and away from windows. So that's what's happening here.